Hi there, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the Hot Slice Podcast. This is a podcast by Pizza Today magazine. I am your host, Denise Greer, executive editor here at Pizza Today. And with me is editor in chief, Jeremy White.
Good morning. Happy New Year, Denise. This is our first podcast of 2023. It just rolls off the tongue.
It
2023.
does. 2020. I honestly, 2023 just it baffles me. How did we get here? Like the last time I checked, it was like 2019, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah,
boop. So
yeah, to me, it still feels like 2020. COVID's still obviously going around. We've got the vaccines. We're learning how to live with it and deal with it.
yeah.
But it's still very much a thing. It's still problematic at times. It rears its ugly head. In a lot of ways, it feels like 2020 to me. I wish it felt like 2019, but I think we've been moving in the right direction for a long time now. And
Yeah.
new year, and it's time to embrace all the positive changes in the pizza industry. And it's time
Yeah.
to celebrate the pizza industry. We have Pizza Expo coming up in a little over 2 months.
Oh
But
man,
today
yes.
we're going to talk about the pizza industry report that we did and that we published online. Some of it we put in the December issue of Pizza Today.
Hmm.
A lot more we put online on
Yeah.
pizzatoday.com. All you've got to do is enter your email address to see that information. But Denise, we just waited so deep in this for many, many months.
Yeah.
And there's so much to talk about. Where do you want to start?
Oh man. So I think the best place to start is in the trends area. I think let's talk this podcast all about what's happening in the trends we're seeing in pizzerias and its menus, because I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of valuable insights about as they're planning forward. The new year is also a time to reflect and think about where you want to go and how you want to get there.
Mhm.
So maybe talking about the trends a little bit will help other people, just try to, formulate their ideas as well.
Yeah, I
Um,
love it. I love it.
yeah,
So, not a trend. I agree with starting with trends, not a trend. And no surprise, we discovered that New York style pizza is still the most popular style of pizza in America. It's still in
yeah.
the largest percentage of pizzeria menus. So while that's not really a trend, it did help us uncover what else is trending right now. And even though New York is number one in terms of when we asked, we had 754 respondents, by the way. We had a huge response to the survey.
Yes.
But when we asked the style of pizzas that you offer in your pizzeria, New York was number one. Traditional American was number two, Sicilian three, Chicago thin four, deep dish five. Those were the top five. But what we also uncovered is that gluten-free crust is really strong.
Hmm.
63% of our respondents say they are now offering that option. 35.5% said cauliflower crust is on the rise and they're offering it. So
Yeah.
there's just a couple of trends that we're seeing right now take place.
Yeah. Well, let's you started off with pizza style. So
Yeah,
let's start there. And let's talk about the one style that made the top 5 that was surprising, but we actually are seeing it as trending the last couple of years.
yeah.
And I call it that 2023 will be the year of the tavern, which
Tavern
is
style,
Chicago
Chicago
thin.
thin.
Because as I'm rolling through Instagram, those pizza influencers and major pizza makers, I'm seeing them test those all over Instagram, all over their reels. Like they're showing the
Mhm.
process of them trying to perfect their tavern style. And I
Agree.
love the idea of bringing this style because it's so different. Because A, you're not using yeast. you know it's just a different crust altogether, and for me growing up in central Indiana, I love a tavern. I love a
I
Chicago
agree.
thin. I like it cut into squares, which you don't
Mhm.
have to do. um, but I think 2023, mark my words, tavern.
No, you're right about that. And it's interesting because I was going to bring that up. You and I both grew up on that style. That's what was served in our hometowns. We both grew up in
Mhm.
Indiana, and that's kind of the prevalent style in the region in which you and I grew up.
Yeah.
So for me, tavern style has been the primary style pizza I've consumed my entire life for the most
Yeah.
part. Sometimes what's old is new again. Tavern style is not new, but it is red hot. I think it's going to take. Right now Detroit has been the
Mhm.
hottest style the last couple of years, and I think you're right. That's going to eventually be eclipsed by
Mhm.
the tavern craze. I'm going to run through the top 10 real quickly because I know I just mentioned the top five. New York was number one, traditional American two, Sicilian three, Chicago thin four, deep dish five, Neapolitan six, Detroit style seven, grandma eight,
Mhm.
California style nine, and Chicago thick 10. Those were the top 10 in terms of our respondents saying, I offer this style of pizza on my
Yeah.
menu. So you're right. If you look at tavern style or Chicago thin, it's
Mhm.
also referred to, is coming in at fourth right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't do
That
this
was
survey
so
a few years
surprising.
ago. I don't think a few years ago it would have been in the top five. I really
No.
don't.
No. I think Neapolitan would have been in the top 5. A few
Mhm.
years ago, Neapolitan has
Yeah,
taken a massive shift in that I think a lot of people are still doing Neapolitan because people like a wood-fired pizza. Like they love
absolutely.
wood-fired. But what we're seeing is the neo movement where, a lot of people are taking the tenets of Neapolitan and then applying it to themselves locally. So maybe they're not using the Italian ingredients, but they're using local ingredients that they're finding in their area. So it's just a movement we've noticed. We've put it in the magazine. We've seen
Yep.
the shift in Neapolitan. Does that mean Neapolitan isn't going to come back with a full force? Who knows? Because customers, tastes change. So you just
They
don't
do.
know.
They do.
But right now, people are loving them some square rectangle pizza. That's obvious there with the Sicilian and grandma and Detroit. So
Yep.
which I love to see. And in with that square, there's this movement too to apply your own creativity to those styles. So a lot of people aren't doing maybe a classic any style. They may be doing a square pie, but they're doing it on their own terms and testing out their own variation. And that's
Mhm.
something that I love because I love the creativity that American pizzeria makers are doing today.
I agree. And before we move on though, I have to talk about pan style pizza. Obviously,
My
we
gosh.
added a
Whew.
we added a pan style division at the International Pizza Challenge a few years ago, and it has blown up. It's been a great addition.
Yeah.
But sometimes, Denise, what we see with our own eyes anecdotally, on Instagram, watching influencers in the industry, what they're making in their kitchens, and then what the survey tells us, sometimes the information is
Hmm.
somewhat conflicting. And that's the case here because we asked our readers about the style of pizzas they intend to add in the coming year. Now,
Yeah.
54% said we're not going to add a style of pizza
No.
at all. But that means close to half, 46%, are going to add a style.
Yeah.
Now, listen to this. Number one, Detroit. Number two, deep dish. Number three, Sicilian. Number four, grandma. Number five, Roman. So
Every one of
tavern
those are
style
pan.
Chicago thin is not in the top five of what our respondents said we're going to add.
Yeah.
And the one thing that these five pizzas have in common, again, Detroit, deep dish, Sicilian, grandma, Roman. None of those are thin pizzas.
No.
Well, I wrote Roman. Most of them are pan style pizzas, a little bit thicker, certainly thicker than a Chicago thin.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because what we're seeing with our own eyes, again, with people who are influential in the industry and what they're dabbling in their restaurants, um, does conflict a little bit with that right there.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
the influencers that you're talking about, these are the people that are way ahead of the curve, way ahead of the game.
Absolutely.
These are the people that were 10 years ago when making Detroit style pizza.
Hmm.
So they're not going to look to add a Detroit style pizza right now. They added it 10 years ago. Those people are the ones that are starting to dabble with the tavern pie. So I think there's
Yeah.
going to be a little bit of a lag,
Yeah.
a little bit of a lag there, as there always is. The influencers are always well ahead of the
Yeah.
curve.
And there's some styles that, we kept hearing about that did not even make
Hmm.
any kind of surface. We kept hearing about
Yeah,
pizza and
I
how it was
know.
going to like be this major trend, but it is such a unique style and it has such a unique flour combination that you can only get, in certain places. So I think that's a hard one to trend nationally. It's a difficult
It's
trend to go.
yeah.
Now we had talked about Roman a couple years ago.
Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe 2019, we were like, oh, Roman's coming up. And we have seen that. We have seen Roman just,
Yeah.
there are Roman style restaurants. We have one here in
Yeah.
Louisville, which
Hmm.
is amazing because, you think about a Roman style pizzeria. It would have been unheard of in 2015 or 16 to
Yeah.
see that many Roman style specific restaurants
Hmm.
come up.
No, I agree. I think at the end of the day, the Detroit movement just had the legs, had the sea legs, and we
Yeah.
knew it was going to be very sustainable for a long time. But I think that we probably thought it was going to run out of steam well before it did,
Mhm.
and it's still that marathoner is still out there going. So,
Yeah. And
and
I think that also the Roman also goes with the whole idea that people, it's New Year, people are always going on diets and things the New Year. Well, the Roman style it's a more highly digestible pizza. It's
yeah.
just the digestivity of that pizza is very well. You can
Hmm.
you can eat a Roman style pizza and your belly feels fine right after, it
Yeah.
just the style is just like that. So I could see it still has legs and it's still got more movement. And
Yeah,
Detroit's
no
still
doubt.
it once the big three came out with Detroit, like Detroit's not going anywhere. It's mainstream and
Hmm.
it's now a staple, I think.
Absolutely. Let's talk ingredients a
Oh
little bit while
yeah.
we're talking menu because
Yeah.
we asked a lot of questions about ingredient trends, ingredient usage.
Yeah.
We learned a lot, but let's what did you notice in the survey responses?
Well, the first thing I notice is the change in the top 10 pizza
Hmm.
toppings. There has been these lists out there and the funny thing is the sources I see when I see, media outlets, they're using this data that we had come up with a long time ago in
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
2012, 2013. It said what the top 10 pizza
Hmm.
toppings were.
Hmm.
Um, and people's tastes have changed. It's not the same anymore. And I love that bacon is now in the top 5 pizza toppings. It makes me so happy because bacon is, you know, everywhere. Everything has, bacon's just everywhere.
Hmm.
So to see it, hit the top 5. And extra cheese is one of those weird things that it's always been in the top 5 for as long as I can remember. It's been in the top 5, but it's this kind of random thing where you're like, what is extra cheese? How do you deal with extra cheese? So we're going to cover that. It's in the
Yeah,
magazine this month. It's in the
it is.
magazine.
It
Um,
is.
so if you want to learn how to calculate it and how to price it right, so that so that you have the right food cost and the right
Hmm.
pricing on that extra cheese as a topping, we've covered that pretty extensively. Mike Bausch wrote that one for us, I believe.
Yeah, he did. He did a bang up job as he always does. Um, to step outside of these top 10 for a minute, though, we asked a question. We asked, what new toppings have you introduced in the past 12 months? And we
Hmm.
told our respondents they could write in up to four
Oh,
toppings. So we did not provide them a checklist where they could check. They had to
hundreds
write
of
in. They
responses,
could
like
write in up to
hundreds.
four. And
Yeah.
some of the, yeah, I'm just going to read through some of these picante peppers, Polish rope sausage, yellow
Oh
bell
yeah.
peppers, pulled pork, brisket. A lot of people wrote in brisket, vegan
Yeah.
mozzarella, Philly cheesesteak,
Hmm.
shrimp, chicken fajitas. Uh, okay.
Like,
Berries,
yeah. Yeah.
stuffed crust, corned beef, caramelized onions. That's no surprise. Pork belly. A lot of people wrote in pork belly, carne asada, spring pea
Mhm.
pesto,
Okay.
burrata, andouille sausage. It's really cool to look through here and see what people wrote in, and to see certain
Mhm.
things like the ones we mentioned have been repeated over and over and
Yeah.
over again. So it just gives us a clue to where some people are heading right now and what they're thinking.
Yeah. And to let everyone know, when I was, putting this section together, I looked through those every single response on
Yeah,
all four entries for hundreds of people. So it's like thousands
yeah,
of responses. So I'm going through and finding the commonalities in some
right,
of these.
right,
And so I'm just, putting little check marks next to everything, because you can't really, say, hey, let's find a word, because people are using different words to mean the same thing.
right, right.
So what we found is people are looking for those specialty cheeses and those new cheeses. People want to experiment with cheese. Like, they want to figure out,
Yes,
how to have the best cheese combination, because let's put cheese is it, you know,
yeah.
a great mozz is great, but if people are adding, burrata or urban fused cheeses, or
Mhm.
just ricotta, or goat cheese, that, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anything, they're looking to enhance that flavor profile of the cheese. You maybe doing a blend or finishing with
Mhm.
a cheese. So cheese is still where it's at.
Yeah. A ton of people wrote in burrata, which doesn't surprise me, but
No,
the number of people that wrote in mac and cheese, macaroni and cheese,
I know,
um,
isn't that fun?
that so many people wrote in mac and cheese. Another one we talked about was brisket. Ton of
Yeah,
people are playing with brisket right now.
yeah,
Just people are experimenting. Berries,
yeah.
strawberries, blueberries. A lot of people
Hmm.
wrote in berries.
Yeah,
So, and Chris Decker put out an amazing recipe for us. It's been 5 or 6 months back now. I can't recall the exact issue it was in, but in his monthly recipe, it had blueberries on it,
yeah.
and it was outstanding. But
He's
people
big
are
into
playing around in
fruit.
the kitchen. They're experimenting. They are expanding their palates. We've
Hmm.
talked about this before. There's so many cooking shows, not just the Food Network. There are amazing cooking shows even on Netflix and different
Yeah,
streaming services. The American consumer, their palate is just more refined than it's ever been.
yeah,
As a result of all these outlets that are covering food and covering cooking, and we're seeing that in pizzerias now. The
yeah,
our people, our readers are experimenting and playing around with different topping combinations. Smoked
yeah,
corn was a lot of people wrote in corn or smoked corn.
yeah.
So it's just the playfulness of our industry is fascinating to me.
It's great. And the fun thing is when I started, and we would put onto social media a pizza that had some wacky ingredient on it. If it
Mm-hmm.
had pickles on it or something, we would get blasted in the
Mm-hmm.
comments. Just,
Mm-hmm.
that's not pizza,
It's not pizza.
pineapple, same thing. That's not pizza. And then, but now we throw up all these crazy things that people are coming up with, and they're like, oh man, I need to try that.
I
So,
mean,
like, the change in attitude towards, that pizza can be anything you want it to be. You just have to balance the flavors correctly.
yeah, absolutely. What other menu trends, Denise, did you notice that jumped out to you, whether it's specific ingredient usage or people talking about removing menu items or streamlining the menu? What what
Yeah.
what else as far as the trends go is related to food kind of caught your attention?
Well, something on the introducing new items
Mm-hmm.
and kind of hot items is that hot chili oil and
Yeah,
that crack oil. I
I'm
don't
a
know if you've
big
tried
fan. I'm
that
a
crack oil,
I'm a
but
big fan.
you gotta try it. It is it's something that we've noticed out there. Like, a lot of people are doing it as their, that specialty pizza. They're introducing that, and it's just really good. Anytime you can add that little balance of hot, it's just the heat, it works every time.
let me tell you, you know, I like spice anyway, Denise, but
Uh-huh.
shout out to our colleague, Bill Oakley. I was in several years ago, I was in Italy with Bill. Um, and we had it for the first time. We were in a pizzeria. We were in
Mm-hmm.
northern Italy. We were just outside Milan, and we were sitting down in the pizzeria. It was there on the table as a condiment, just like here in the States. You know, you got the crushed red pepper and the grated parm and all that. It was right there on the table. We drizzled it on the pizza, and it was like life changing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it wasn't long after that you know, Tony Gimignani and a lot of other people started making their own right here in the States in their
Yeah.
restaurants and using it on their pizzas. And it kind of blew up
Yeah.
again with the influencers early on. And now the mainstream is catching on to it and latching onto it as well. I'm a big fan of that trend. I'm happy to
Mm-hmm.
see it stick around for a
Yeah.
long time. It will absolutely change the pizza eating experience for you if you like a little
Yeah.
heat.
Yeah. And the one thing we did ask of all the things out there, we asked, what is the biggest trend in pizza right
Mm-hmm.
now? And it was plant-based. I mean,
Yep. Yep.
some folks do not want plant-based on their menu. I understand that. That's their prerogative, but plant-based is real and it is here and I think it's here to stay. It's one of those things where there's this push and pull between what ingredients make up a plant-based pizza, whether you use genuine of
Mm-hmm.
the earth ingredients or you use those meat or cheese alternative ingredients.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and whichever way you go, it's still you're still appealing to a market that may not choose you
Right.
if they're friends, if they decide to all go out as a group and the plant-based person cannot eat anything on your menu, like they're going to choose somewhere else to go. Like that's just the reality.
That's the veto vote.
Yeah.
You know, I have a son who has a dairy allergy. So we most often will never go out for ice cream anymore. If we do,
Yeah.
we'll go to a place that we know has a
Mm-hmm.
dairy-free option or at least has a sorbet, so that he
Mm-hmm.
can also get something. But a lot of times we just don't go, right?
Yeah.
So there's that veto vote. And
Yeah.
if you're in a group, 6, 7, 8 people, you're going to lunch from the office, or
Mm-hmm.
you're with your soccer team or whatever, there's always that one veto vote that, oh, well, I can't go there because they don't offer a vegan option for me. And then
Mm-hmm.
you end up going somewhere else. So I'm glad you brought that up. And we asked, and I'm looking at it right now, 30.5%. So let's round that up to 31% of our respondents said they currently are offering vegan/plant based alternatives. So close to 1/3, not
Yeah.
quite, but close to one out of every 3 pizzerias currently are offering that. We're
Yeah.
only going to see that rise because when we ask about that later on in the survey, if what you're going to be adding, that number was very high. So people are
Absolutely.
seeing that it's a trend. People are seeing
Mm-hmm.
that it's here to stay. I think a lot of folks early on kind of thought, well, it's a flash in the pan. It's not going to stick
Mm-hmm.
around. And let's face it, Denise, 10 years ago, these products were horrible.
They
They they
come
they,
a
they
long way.
they were terrible.
Yeah.
The texture was awful. The flavor was awful. Everything about it, they were
Yeah.
hard to get.
Yeah.
Everything about it was terrible. I'm just being honest,
Yeah.
right? But you have to start somewhere, and
Mm-hmm.
these products have evolved. They're now much easier to get your hands on. Um,
They have the mouth feel.
the mouth feels there, the
Yeah.
texture, the flavor
The
has come
look. The
a
look.
long way. These products have evolved by leaps and bounds. So if you own a pizzeria and maybe at Pizza Expo 10, 12 years ago, you sampled, let's say, plant-based pepperoni, and you thought, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted. There's no way I'm gonna menu this. Um, you should rethink that. You should try the products
Yeah.
today. and you'll be surprised how far they have come.
Yeah.
And if they're not on your menu, you need to get them on your menu,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the American consumer is asking for it.
Yeah, and in March you'll get the opportunity to
Mhm.
come test those products. I actually walk around the show floor specifically with, I'll take one part of my day, and that's my task, is to go and try those products that I need to taste test to see, how they've changed, whether it's the plant-based or new cheese infusions, what's happening with the flour. I go through and I taste everything. So the plant-based, it's just all over the show floor. Like you cannot, like, you
Yeah.
can throw a quarter and find plant-based everywhere.
Yeah.
So getting in there and tasting it, making those appointments with those vendors, and just trying it, talking to them about what it is, and how it can help your restaurant. I think it's something that I hope more people will gravitate towards, because you're not only appealing to vegans, you're appealing to people that maybe want to cut meat out slightly from their diet. You're also
Yeah.
dealing with people that are dairy free. If you've got an allergy to dairy, can't touch dairy, what opportunities do you have? And the cheese products definitely, oh, they're getting really good. Like the melt on
Hmm.
them
Hmm.
and the browning in the
Yeah.
oven, like it looks so good now.
They've
So
come a long way.
Performance Food Service is proud to deliver high-quality products, innovative technology, and custom operational solutions to restaurants of all sizes across the country. The flagship division of Performance Food Group, with deep roots in the restaurant industry, Performance Food Service has been the exclusive distributor of the Roma family of brands for more than 65 years. This signature relationship has allowed Performance Food Service to become a leader in the pizza and Italian segment of food service nationwide.
With extraordinary pizza cheese comes extraordinary rewards. Only Baccio Exceptional Italian Pizza Cheese offers the Gold Club Rewards program with monthly cash back on every cheese purchase. Members also receive funds twice a year to use in their exclusive marketing store. It's their way of saying grazie to customers. Schedule a demonstration at bacciocheese.com/hotslice and discover how rewarding Baccio Exceptional Italian Pizza Cheese can be. Pizza is your legacy. Build it with Baccio.
Looking to grow your pizzeria or restaurant? Then you'll want to try the power of a cloud-based POS system. With Hunger Rush, you'll get everything you need. This fully integrated restaurant management system allows you to easily streamline operations, accelerate the delivery process, and grow your business through Hunger Rush 360 marketing. And it's so easy to use. Want AI-powered text ordering? It's built in. Need to track orders? No problem. Schedule a personalized demo at hungerrush.com today.
Denise, we asked a question in the survey as it pertains to the menu and ingredients. We asked, what do you see as the biggest trend in the pizza industry currently in terms of your ingredient usage in your menu? And I'm just going to quick hit again, this was a write-in. This was not we provided answers and you had to check a box. This was an actual write-in. And I'm going to do a real quick hit here because there's so many, but digestible crust, Detroit Sicilian, Detroit, plant-based, vegan, healthier options, plant-based, 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 vegan, plant-based.
I know, right?
And then
it's y'all saying it. Like, it's not us. It's coming from them.
there's always one, right? There's always a troll, or there's always one, right? Not that this is a troll answer, but I just want to know, if this is you, please call us, email us, please stand up.
Please stand up.
Hiring nightmares. Yes. Okay. Employees are hard to find. Hiring is a nightmare. And we get into that later in the survey, but who the heck answered an ingredient question with hiring nightmares? If that's you, I want to shake your hand and take a picture with you at Pizza Expo, because I know you're just trolling us, and I can appreciate a good troll. So
yeah, cheers. Well, that's why we have a factored ratio on this, so that see the far end responses, or the ones that are way over here. We're looking for that median. We're looking for what the industry is saying, and what the industry is saying is plant-based is hot, and it's not just a flash in the pan. It's definitely has a
Yeah.
movement to it.
We had so many answers that said vegan, plant-based. We had, some vegetarian. We had we had a lot of gluten-free write-ins as well.
Yeah.
And we had cup and char pepperoni. We had hot honey on pizza, which is not really so much of a trend these days. But for the most part, you saw as I read through, it was vegan, vegan, plant-based, vegan. But so that's definitely what people are thinking right now.
Yeah. Well, I loved, because we actually asked the question about what's not hot. Like what are you going to remove from your menu? And those answers are funny because some people were removing things that were in the top 10 or top 20 pizza toppings. So they just weren't working in their community. So that goes to prove that just because it's a trend or just because it's popular all over the country doesn't mean it may work for your market. Your market may be very specific to certain toppings. So the one thing that I thought was fun was, of course, anchovies, which, we said it, anchovies have made a comeback. I actually like anchovies. I'm not going to lie. They're good. I didn't used to. They're very salty. They're very, they got some flavor to them. But I do like.
I'm not a fan, Denise. I'm just biting my tongue here.
I know you are. But a lot of people are removing them from lists. So just know that you're not alone. But then I saw olives. People are removing olives, which olives is a mainstay in pizzerias. Why? But they're removing olives. And maybe the olives, taste change. The markets, maybe their market, people aren't eating olives. I love olives, so any olive, throw it on there. Unless I don't like canned olives very much. So
I'm here for the olives in particular. Me personally, this is personal taste buds here. Green olives. I'm a huge fan of green olives. On pizza. But,
absolutely.
People who are removing olives from their pizza menu, I don't understand it, but like you said, every market is so individualized.
And then this one I can understand. Potato. I can understand potato. But right now we're in winter, and potatoes with a cream sauce and some bacon, and some nice cheese, like that's a good pizza. That is a comfort pizza. So maybe keep it on there for these specialty environments like winter. So
look, the bottom line was between needing to streamline menus due to the pandemic, due to supply chain interruptions, due to all the things that people faced. People, the general public was gravitating to carry out. Menus needed to be cut back, and when you streamline, when you decrease the size of your menu, just the natural byproduct of that is you have to eliminate inventory ingredients. You have to cut something somewhere, right? You have to trim fat, so to speak. So I get why people are decreasing their inventory and streamlining their menus, and I 100% understand it, and I think it's the right thing to do, and I'm all for it. But there's just certain items, again, olives. I don't understand why you remove olives from your menu.
Well, as you're just talking about, the menu size. Let's look at those other things besides pizza, because what we found, and this, I didn't know how this was going to go nationally as far as the makeup of the menu. And, salads were number one, which I honestly wasn't sure if they would be. But 88% of pizzerias have salads on the menu. And, I love a salad and a pizza combo. It's just good. You get that nice, salad in there, and then the nice comfort food after that. I think it works. And then appetizers are, of course, big. Sandwiches are, in between, and then pastas, only about 50% of pizzerias are using pastas. And then one thing we noticed was that like soups and entrees have taken a huge nosedive, which that's not surprising.
Big nosedive.
After post-pandemic, when menus are smaller or menus are more focused on what people want. soups and entrees, people aren't wanting a different entree than a pizza, you know. So
it just doesn't travel well. I mean,
yeah,
you've got to bring in entirely new line of packaging in order to let people carry home soup
yeah,
or to deliver soup, right?
yeah.
What a nightmare. What a nightmare, quite frankly, to have your delivery crew carrying around soup. It's just
Yeah. That
it's a pain.
doesn't.
It's a hassle. So obviously salads are very easy to deliver. Pizza is very easy to deliver. Certain
Mhm,
entrees fare well and stand up to delivery.
mhm.
Others don't.
Yeah,
Uh, Certain entrees you need to be served fresh at the table. By the time
yeah,
you get home 15 or 20 minutes later, it's nowhere near the same dish, and the
yeah.
customer's disappointed. And then you're disappointed. So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it makes sense in light of the delivery and carry out trend post pandemic. A lot of what we saw does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And we asked the question, what is the top selling non-pizza items in your pizzeria? And of course, we felt like we were gonna nail this one, and we did. And that is chicken wings. Chicken wings are still hot. They are a hot
Yeah.
selling item. Now, just because they're top selling doesn't mean they're top profit generating, because the wings are out of
The
control right
price of
now.
chicken is through the
Uh,
roof. That
and
was another product, Denise, that many people, especially early on in the pandemic, they couldn't get their hands on
mm-mm,
wings. There was a
mm-mm.
serious wing shortage, and as me,
There's a wing shortage last year too, with
yeah,
the transportation issue.
I'm a wing lover. I'm the customer that if my family of four goes out to a pizzeria, um, we spend $80 at the end of the day because we're getting wings
Mhm.
along with the pizza. We're probably getting some salad as well.
Yeah,
We're ordering multiple things from the menu. We're not just getting a pizza to share.
yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
you bet we're getting wings.
Yeah,
All four of us love wings, but
yeah,
me especially. So yeah, the wing shortage was a
yeah.
hard times, Denise.
But as I went to eat dinner with my family and friends, and we would get wings, they would not bat an eye at that price increase. They didn't care. It's like, I'm just getting them. I don't care if they're $16.95. I'm getting the wings.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things where, we've got Melissa Rickman doing an article on wings, and what's happening with them, and why and how you can keep them on the menu even amongst all these issues with wings. So I think wings are not going anywhere now.
No.
If you are trying to order your wings for, say, Super Bowl Sunday, and you're not ordering them ahead of time, you're not working with your distributor to make sure you can get them, then you may find shortages, because when it comes to these big sales days, there's only a limited supply of wings.
Yeah.
And if you're not actively communicating with your distributor about that way in advance, it's January, y'all need to be talking to your distributors about that.
Right.
Then you're going to be out those wings, because
Yeah.
they're going to give them to people that they've actively talked to, and can expect that, here's the supply I need, let's work to get those right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Very, very good point, Denise. Super
yeah,
Bowl is coming up next month, so it is definitely time to be preparing for that.
absolutely. Another one that I love, that this one was one of the highest ones, and that's garlic breadsticks, garlic knots, garlic bread. Like, if you don't have a garlic based, like, bread product as your appetizer, like, throw it on there now, because it is just money. I mean, it's money. You're using your pizza dough, so
So easy.
you're using your scrap pizza dough, so you've got the product there. Garlic, there you go. Olive oil or butter, Parmesan. You can't get any easier than that. And you can throw a price tag on those, where your food cost and your profits are going to be nicely matched up.
Absolutely. And I would talk to people over the years, and they would anecdotally would tell me, well, it's on our menu, but we don't ever market it. We don't ever push it because, I mean, they're already getting bread, cheese, and sauce with the pizza. They don't want to eat more bread, cheese, and sauce. I'm like, guys, look, I'm one person, but I do. Again, my family, we get wings, we get, breadsticks or garlic bread or whatever, knowing full well we're going to eat pizza, which is bread, cheese, and sauce, but we still do it anyway. And it just makes sense. Like you said, you've got the ingredients on hand. It's easy to produce in your kitchen, very inexpensively. You have a nice markup on it, so you have a nice little profit margin. And starters, appetizers, first plates, whatever terminology you like to use, they're still red hot. And they in a pizzeria setting, they will outsell a dessert, 10-1.
Oh yeah, for
They just
sure.
will. So it just makes so much sense.
Absolutely. And a lot of people talk about labor issues with these kinds of things. Well, I don't want to bring that in because that's an added labor. You can actually make, if you don't want to do a garlic knot, which is a little more time consuming to make the knot, I've seen, who was it that had, like, it was just garlic, it was just pinches of dough, and then they would toss it in the garlic butter and put it in the oven. It was so good, but it was just little pinches, and you could totally tell it was just little almost balls. And that's just so quick. Just throw them in a bowl, throw them in the oven. It was just, so you can make things not time consuming. It depends on just how much effort you want to put into making whatever, whether it's a breadstick or a knot or, however you want to do it, or bread. You've got to decide that.
Denise, this podcast has made me really hungry. It's,
I know.
it's morning
It's almost,
for us. We're recording this in the
almost
morning.
lunchtime.
It's not lunchtime, but I tell you what, this podcast is making me very hungry.
Absolutely. I love it. Let's think, are there any other, overarching trends we want to hit on? The thing I think about is chicken.
Yeah.
In general, chicken on menus is just, people like chicken on menus. Chicken almost made it into the top 5 pizza toppings. So it was.
It makes sense. It's a lean protein, and it can be paired with so many different sauces or other ingredients. The possibilities with chicken are so endless. It's really a pretty blank canvas, just like your pizza dough. So do you want to go sweet with it, kind of a sweet fire? Do you want to go sweet and spicy? Do you want to pair it with some berries and go really sweet? Do you want to put it with a cream sauce? There's so many things that you can do with chicken as an ingredient topping that it only makes sense. Again, it just makes sense to have it. Obviously, you have the mainstays, a buffalo chicken pizza, barbecue chicken pizza, but so many things you can do with chicken.
Absolutely. Well, I think let's wrap this one up, but I want to point out that if you go to pizzatoday.com, right on the front, big, huge image is a link to get you into the report, so you can look at it yourself and get in there. And, it may take you a while. The what we printed in the magazine was maybe 2,000 words, something like that. And what's in there sample is about, I don't know, 20,000 words. I don't even know anymore. And the funny thing is we're still crunching the data. So there's
we will be for months
to glean from this. I'm looking at you, food truck folks. We've got some data on you now too. And so we're going to start looking at that, crunching that data and rolling that out as well. So it's exciting. I think next week we're going to look at the employees and what's happening in sales and pizzerias and that whole indie market.
We'll talk some business trends. We just chose to talk about some menu items first, but there's so much to wade through, like you said. We'll be back next week with a lot more.
Okay. All right. Well, have a good day, guys, and we'll see you next week.
See you, gang.